Like, I see now.
All right, Wally.
Are we live? Is there going to be a countdown, or what's going on here?
Both.
Both. So we are live.
Yep. I can
Oh,
count down
well,
if that makes you more comfortable.
I mean, that's usually how we do it.
3,
All right,
2, 1.
Guys, I want to apologize in advance. We were not able to get the rights to the Imperial March to bring me on properly, so that's why there's a little bit of confusion. It's what happens. It's taking me. You can't do too much of it. I don't want to get sued. Not until I've made my millions.
Some heavy John Williams residuals.
Yeah, that guy needs to get his paper if we're gonna do that. But yes, welcome to Gambling Land. We're going to Gambling Land because I have been declared God Emperor of Gambling Land. I am in the middle of consolidating my rule. Don't worry, your tears will be tears of joy as you work the caverns of anguish.
And that was such a good bet last week, Waleed.
Yeah, betting against the Chargers is always a good bet.
I'm stuck on the waiver wire of despair.
Yeah. Tony put up a good fight. His people were fighting to the bitter end.
Well, you got to thank what's his name there in the Chargers for going for it on 4th and 1 for some reason.
Good God. Brandon Staley, just terrible. I mean, I watch him and I actually feel better about Matt Eberflus. That's how bad his decision making is, and all I feel is rage towards Matt Eberflus most of the time. So
yeah.
Oh.
So since you're the brave leader, why don't you run us through how we did last week?
Yeah. If you guys are wondering, first off, not only am I running Gambling Land, my hot streak is still going strong. As a show, we also crushed it. Tony was 4-1 last week. I was 4-1 last week. Ryan was 3-2 last week. Brandon was 2-3, with the caveat that all of his bets were plus money lines, and it was still profitable to follow him. If you would have only made Brandon's bets, you still would have made money. As a team, we were 2-4 on parlays, and 2-4 on millionaire bets, both me and Tony. So for the week, 13-7, 2-4, 2-4, for a total of, what the hell is that number? I didn't actually total that out, so I got to do some math. 17 and 15, but that includes parlays and other things. And frankly, if you bet every bet we had the same amount of money, you made a killing. And
Now I know I was 3-2 last week, but let's take this all in mind too. I called Tony on the road in northern Wisconsin at 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he just was running down the lines with me. I'm like, all right, this sounds good. This sounds good. So I wasn't really looking at anything because I was in a state where you can't bet. So
that's a fancy way of saying that Tony and I were better than you.
Yeah. But
wait, can we give a shout out to Tony Martin for being a real friend?
Tony is a great friend.
I'm gonna say this. I'll say this right now. The fact that Ryan still ended up positive 3-2 while just hearing lines read off on a phone while driving through the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that's key. That's clutch. Yeah, that's how you do it. And honestly, I feel like a lot of us, it's one of those things where if we don't have to spend time thinking about it and just make those snap choices, I feel like most of us would be right more often than not. It's when we start diving in deep and looking at these okay, how did I defend slot receivers on 3rd down? Okay, I got this. Right. I think I got this bet. What the fuck just happened?
All right, so you hit your milli bet. I hit my milli bet. We all did 4-1, 4-1, 3-2 in terms of our top 5 bets of the week.
17-3, top 5.
What's that?
Oh, I said 13-7, top 5 bets of the week as a show. That's a great ass fucking line.
Waleed and I each hit a parlay, so let's go. Let's fucking do this.
Let's keep it going. And we keep it going. Sorry.
Tomorrow we're starting in London. 8:30 a.m. It is Jacksonville, technically the home team because of Shad Khan. They are -3. They're 3.5-point favorites at home in England. And Atlanta upset +136 on the money line. Totals 43.5. Let's start with the Jags expert to take it away. Ryan, what do you got?
Oh my God, I love this game tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm taking the under on this game. I think it's going to be like 20-17, something like that. But I'm excited that Jacksonville is starting its homestay in London this week. I really like Kirk's over at 4.5 receptions.
Okay.
And other than that, I don't really have too much betting in this game other than the under and the 4.5 receptions. Those are two of my top 5 bets of the week. Otherwise, I'm not too confident in any of the lines I have in this right now.
Okay. I don't have anything in terms of bets in this game, so I do want to point out, like, Jacksonville's pretty good run defense, y'all.
Yep.
Something to be just to keep in mind, and also, Kyle Pitts, he only scores European touchdowns.
This is a fact. This is documented.
It was like me at a hostel in the UK. All I got were European sixes. All right,
Yep.
Wallace,
You know what? I think now that I'm looking at these receptions too, like if that's a narrative where the Jaguars are playing up most of the game, I like Drake London's reception over at 3.5. Seems low.
It seems low because Desmond Ridder can't throw a catchable ball. I will not like. I am fading pretty much every receiving line on this, but I will say this: the one line that stands out to me that could be sneaky value. Mac Hollins at 24.5. That over. That's one catch for him. The way that they play, and they do throw to him a lot. He's averaging 5 catches a game or 5 targets a game. So if just one of those is catchable.
If you are a Drake London rosterer in season-long fantasy football, I mean, the line's 43.5, so I don't feel super betting under. But
Yeah.
I will tell you that Jacksonville's 10th in zone rate in the league, and out of 109 wide receivers, when it comes to fantasy points per route run against the zone, Drake London's 95th.
Ooh, that's scary.
I don't love Drake London. If you're playing this week and he's on your team, I'd bench him. But the line I'm not betting because it's 43.5. That could be one catch, breaks a tackle,
London's breakout game being in London sounds pretty, If the script was written, Tony, that would be the one.
Yeah. London goes off in London.
I feel like we have a lot to talk about.
I do have a few. I was talking receiving. There are a couple of other bets I do want to point out. Now, the Bijan line, honestly, the under is probably a strong play here, but I will not bet it because I don't bet against superstars unders. I don't like doing it because he can do that in one carry, and it just feels like a bad bet. Also, more and more, I don't like unders as much in single season games. For regular season, the under is a strong play. For one game, I think it's a lot easier to predict overs than it is unders overall. I will say that one under I do like this week, Travis Etienne receptions at 18.5 as receiving yards. That line is too high. I think that's an under that's a pretty safe bet. And the Bijan Robinson receiving over is also a stronger bet. Like, he might not get the rushing totals, but I think in the passing game is where Bijan might shine this week.
Okay. Let's move on to a game that I think we're going to have a lot to talk about here. It's Miami going to Buffalo. Buffalo are 3-point home favorites. The money line is plus 128 for a Dolphins upset, and the point total is 53.5. I'm going to have Ryan start again because I want you to hit us with that stat you told us on the show last night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, historically, there's been 8 games in the history of the NFL where the opposing teams have scored more than 60 points. And of those 8 games, the following week, those teams' winning record is 1-7. And those teams' record against the spread is 0-8. So I am all over the Buffalo money line and the Buffalo spread at -3 this week.
Yeah,
Okay.
Those all look like good bets. When Ryan told me that, I instantly did Buffalo's. I put a unit on Buffalo to cover, and I did a parlay, $2 parlay with that under and the Buffalo money line because I actually think the under is the sneaky play here. I think that there's a very good chance Miami comes out flat because, like, you put up 70, there's something about those endorphins when they go down,
I hear you. Do you have any specific player props you like? Are you betting anything here?
Ryan, or
No, you, Wally. Or either of you, I guess.
I mean, Ryan started, so I was just
Yeah, I
following up
guess
with him.
I do have a same game parlay in this on the podcast last night. I called the tight end of the week to be Dalton Kincaid. It's kind of his mini breakout game. So I have him over his 2.5 receptions, and I have his over at 26.5 yards. I think Kincaid has a chance to do that this week. Let's start using him.
I like it. Miami gives up the most fantasy points to tight ends lined up in the slot.
Yeah. And if you want me to finish that parlay, it was those three, or it was those two with Kincaid, the Buffalo money line. The Hill and the Diggs over are both at 6.5 receptions.
Okay.
That was
right.
plus 956.
Okay. Damn. All right, Waleed, tell us what you got.
So here, the one of the lines that really stood out to me is I feel like this is a running back game, which also makes me feel better about taking that under that I did. James Cook, his line opened at 57.5. It's now all the way to 60.5 from a rushing standpoint. There's a reason for that. You can run against the Dolphins. That James Cook rushing over is interesting. I was actually looking at a James Cook rushing and receiving combo, but the problem is because the rushing and receiving for both running backs, the lines are good, but I'm not getting any value. I'm actually losing value adding like that receiving yard, and I don't like it. I don't feel like I'm getting enough juice as an insurance play. I'm also sad I don't have the same rushing and receiving for Raheem Mostert because both his rushing and receiving lines look good. Mostert at 52.5 rushing, that over is a solid play, but his line also might be inflated just based on the ass whooping they laid last week. There's not enough games in the season for me to feel comfortable with that. So even though those are lines that look noticeably low to me, and I feel a lot more comfortable with James Cook than I do Raheem Mostert this week in that regard.
Mostert last week was 47.5, I think.
Yeah. James Cook, his receiving line at 20.5, that actually feels like a pretty strong play too, because like running backs can catch the ball against this Dolphins defense. I also think Mostert at 13.5, it's a solid over. Those lines I feel a little bit more comfortable with, but I feel like I'm honestly not placing any bets on this game outside of that money line bet that I talked about at the top because I am not very comfortable. I feel like this game is a trap, and one thing I try to do is just not get fooled. If I'm not feeling it, I don't care what my numbers say. I'm not going to bet it.
I'm also on Team Ryan here. I think this game is going to start slow, and then I think it's going to pick up. My same game parlay is in this game. It's James Cook over 57.5 rushing, Diggs over 80.5. Stephon Diggs crushes
you do
the
like
zone.
the Diggs.
Miami's been using a ton of zone this year. I took Tua's adjusted passing line at plus 250. And then I took the over, and those odds gave me plus 828. That's my same game parlay.
That's not bad.
As I'm sitting here looking with you guys, I still think that James Cook's rushing line is mispriced, so I just threw another $5 standalone bet on him to go over 60.5. I mean, he's averaging 89 yards rushing a game, and Miami gives up 112 rushing yards a game. So I don't understand why the line would be at 60.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's one of the, why I am kind of like hesitant. But if there was one bet player prop I was going to make on this game, it would be that James Cook line, which just feels like, especially, and if you watch it, they like giving him the ball. He's not getting a crazy amount of usage, but he's getting about 15 carries a game.
Yep.
So that's like it's not that hard. Like, I mean, if he averages just 5 yards a carry, he gets there pretty damn quickly.
Sure. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to surely another barn burner where we have Pittsburgh going to Houston. Pittsburgh are 3-point road favorites. A Houston home win is plus 120 on the money line, and the total's 41.5. Waleed.
So this game, I'll tell you what, it came close for me with CJ Stroud. And that line at 232.5 for passing yards is incredibly low considering he is dropping back to pass and throwing at like a top 5 rate in the NFL. Like he is slinging it, he's slinging it, he's slinging it, and that makes me want to take the over. On the flip side, for some reason, Damian Pierce, like on my systems, is a good matchup, and I don't care that the Pittsburgh Steelers run defense is garbage. Well, not so much garbage, but they give up big plays. I can't bet an over for Damian Pierce when that offensive line is as injured as it is. But the real value in this game to me is on the wide receivers, specifically the wide receivers on the Houston side of the football. Robert Woods at 35.5 and Nico Collins at 45.5 are both smash overs for me. I like them a lot. I honestly, Robert Woods, I believe, did I make him? Yeah, Robert Woods at 35.5 is one of my top 5 bets of the week. That is an incredibly low line for a man who is getting like 10 targets a game. Well, maybe not 10 targets. He's getting 8 targets a game. But 8 targets in that offense, that's if half of them are catchable and CJ Stroud's accuracy is not in question, 35 is really easy. There was one other bet I wanted to talk about. That Pat Fryermuth 33.5, his receiving under. That's a good bet. I don't think he's going to get there, not against this defense. The line's low enough that I understand not wanting to bet an under at 33.5, but it is a tight end, so I feel like there's a very good chance he won't get there. And also, Kenny Pickett sucks.
He does. All right, Ryan, what do you got?
I love Tank Dell's line. Seems kind of low, 47.5 after what he did last week. I also am on George Pickens this week. I'm at his over 58.5. I know Pickett's not the greatest, but Pickens and his chemistry the last few weeks without Deontay Johnson has looked really good. So,
and that's 3 catches.
Yeah.
See, I actually think the Calvin Austin line is a little bit more interesting at 30.5. With Deontay Johnson there, Calvin Johnson looks like he's the clear number 2, and Pickett was trying to get him the ball last week. But also, like, I agree on Pickens and Calvin Austin, but also, I just the idea of if I bet on Kenny Pickett to succeed and those overs don't hit, I'm just going to be like, you should have saw this coming. So I'm just not going to bet it. And if it hits, I'm like, good, the system was right. You know?
True.
It's a win-win not betting for me.
Yeah. So would you prioritize? I'm thinking about putting together a little 2-legger. Robert Woods. Would you prioritize Nico over Tank Dell?
Personally, with my system, the bets that have the best odds, Robert Woods is just the biggest smash play. But after that, Tank Dell is the number 2 guy. Nico Collins is a plus play, and it's a favorable line for him. But it's not as favorable as the Tank Dell line.
Okay.
Based on usage right now.
Yeah, Tank Dell's target share last week's 24%.
Yeah, that's why, and like just knowing those other things, like, and honestly, just watching that game, like you can see, and that's to say, because like Nico Collins was getting looks and all that stuff, but Tank Dell, like you can see he's gonna be the guy. It's not quite there yet, but by the halfway point in the season, you're not gonna get the lines you're getting with Tank Dell. Like people are going to catch up, and I want to get on that while they're low.
Sure. All right, let's move on. We are gonna go to the Rams visiting the Colts. The Colts are 1-point home favorites, but you're not going to get plus odds on either side, even for the money line. Colts are actually like the favorite, and their money line is better odds than the Rams, which is weird. And the point total is 45.5. Ryan, start us off.
I don't have very much on this game. I think this is going to be a crap fest, but I don't know. I'd throw some money on the Rams money line.
Okay.
Minus 110.
Okay.
That's all. I'm confident in this game.
Waleed?
I think the Matt Stafford passing over looks interesting. I don't have anything that I feel strongly about, but honestly, I'm kind of catching up on this game right now because I haven't put in some of my numbers yet. If you give me a second, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, but I need like a second. So if you want to vamp.
Kyron Williams.
That Josh Downs receiving line looks tasty to me, but that might just be because I'm kind of coming around on that guy in fantasy. So
he's getting a good target share, and it's not a bad thought to have. I can tell you right now for Tank Dell, that you're right to think that some of these receiving lines. Yeah, the more I'm looking at it, the Puka over, the Tutu over, the Josh Downs over. Let's see, where are you, Michael Pittman? Are you going to be there? I am starting to think I want to take the over on this game because these lines. This looks like it's going to be some. There's going to be some scoring here.
Michael Pittman, the only receiver in the NFL to have 8 catches in all 3 of their games. Josh, what you were saying though, like my thing about Josh Downs is I loved his tape. I loved him as a prospect. I think he's going to be a baller. But this week they're going back to Richardson, and I feel like a lot of his production, I want to see more of it with Richardson before I can accurately forecast like how he's going to play when he plays with him versus with Minshew.
Sure.
That's
It's
why I would have.
It's
that's
the
why I
Andy
would have
Dalton.
started.
It's the Andy Dalton effect.
It's also why, Josh, I would have started David Montgomery over Zach Bond. Just saying.
So I do have one of my top 5 bets of the week is in this game. I know at some point, reasonably, the Puka Nacua train has to end, but I don't think it's this week. I think Cincinnati has a much more man coverage oriented defensive front, and the Colts being one of the most zone heavy teams in the league with terrible cornerbacks says to me that okay, so when they're going up against the zone front, Puka Nacua's target share is 35.7%.
So I want to jump in on that for you. If I could take one bet this week of any bet here, it would be the Puka Nacua over. That line is a smash over.
And 71 seems like a lot for a guy that most people didn't know about until 2 weeks ago, but at the same time, like him against man, 20.7 target share, zone 35.7. It's a great like scheme setup. It aligns perfectly with the way Stafford hyper fixates on one target. I think that's something worth noting, and I think this is going to be another Puka Nacua 10 catch game.
This is honest to God, I'm looking at this number just for how I rate my system. If I hadn't already locked in my top 5 bets of the week, this would be a top 5 bet of the week.
Right.
Good God,
So
smash that Puka Nacua. I'm gonna ladder him. I just looking at this right now because, like I said, if the numbers match up and it's a guy I like that I've seen on tape, and I mean, if you've watched the Rams, you should like Puka Nacua because he looks good.
Yeah. All right, so let's go Minnesota. Minnesota's going on the road, baby. We got a battle of winless teams. 2 of them we got this week. Vikings are going to Carolina. They are 4.5-point road favorites. A Carolina home win would be plus 176, and the total's 46.5. Waleed.
I have never wanted a Minnesota Vikings to win more than I do right now. Because if the Carolina Panthers go 0-4, there's a very good chance the Bears get that number 1 overall pick. Especially if the Bears also get it. They might have the number 1 and number 2 picks. I don't want the Bears to get it. I want the Bears to figure it out. They've had tough defensive matchups. I'm on my last leg of hope there. But Carolina's got problems. And I think if Bryce Young starts, it's going to be an issue. Because I think, what's the defensive coordinator on the Vikings? Drawing a blank here.
What's his name?
Suing the NFL.
He's the Dolphins coach.
Flores, yeah. I think Brian Flores is a good enough defensive coordinator that he's going to confuse the hell out of Bryce Young. Because Andy Dalton, I think, is a much closer matchup. There's one bet in this game that I am waiting on to see who's the starting quarterback, and that is the Adam Thielen over at 52.5 receiving yards. Because
I wasn't thinking, Waleed, to bet the over. I was on his yards. I was thinking to bet the over on his receptions at 4.5.
Honestly, I'll probably stack them in a 2-leg parlay along with the Adam Thielen over for there because I agree with that. But it all depends on whether Bryce Young or
because
or Andy Dalton is the quarterback.
I think this is an Adam Thielen revenge game.
It is.
It 100% is, but if Bryce Young, it's hard to get revenge if your quarterback can't see over his offensive line.
True.
Back from an injury, like
The
Dalton,
the old Rex Grossman.
I will say, so as someone that was completely overexposed to Adam Thielen in best ball, I've been monitoring his stuff pretty closely. Week 1, he had a 6.5% target share, ended up wide receiver 86 on the week.
God damn it! I think. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Week 2, which was Bryce Young, he had a 29% target share, and he ended up wide receiver 16 on the week. And then last week, he had a 24.6 target share, wide receiver 12 on the week. So I think the offense is realizing, like, hey, the old guy's still got some juice. We got to give him the ball.
So you think even with Bryce Young, it's a good line because the numbers say that Thielen's a smash play. I'm a little nervous about it.
Well, we loved Thielen last week in DFS.
Yeah.
And he actually had less target share than he did the previous week with Bryce. And he might not have produced as well with Bryce, but remember, they were also going up against the Saints that week.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm going to Adam Thielen because Bryce Young is a starter because they just posted his line, which it's fine, but it makes me, I don't know. There's nothing else here that I feel comfortable betting. I will say, except for I lied. I'm talking about the Carolina side.
Oh.
Because on the Minnesota side, the wide receiver play that actually I like the most.
I like Addison.
Addison's line is a mismatch. Justin Jefferson's line, I'll be honest, if you just want to keep betting Justin Jefferson overs until he fails, like if you bet every Justin Jefferson over the rest of the season, you're going to come out profitable. There's no way I can say a man who is averaging 150 receiving yards a game, like, you should take the under. You'll never do it. It's bad. It's dumb. Like, bet on him. He's fine. But the real play this week, this is one of my ladder plays of the week. Give me T.J. Hawkinson over 50.5 yards.
Yeah.
That is way too low.
I like matchup. Him. I like him for an anytime touchdown as well.
Oh, I did a ladder play for Hawkinson.
Plus
Hawkinson was Hawkinson was a ladder for me because I think he's gonna. I think he's one of the monster smashes. When you get like this big a mismatch on what his target share based on the defense is, to like a guy that talented who's getting 9 targets a game. Give me that over.
Yeah.
Great target share.
Also, TJ Hawkinson over top 5 bet of the week for me.
Okay. Waleed, are you confident in any Cousins alternate passing yards this week or no?
Truth be told, his passing line is it's a positive play to take his over, but it's not strong enough. I'm like right now I'm still like refining my new system to see where the value is, and it's in a weird like neutral play where it's a good bet. I feel strongly it's a good bet, but there are other bets that are stronger. And I'm not trying to make like 100 bets. I'm trying to make 20 really strong bets.
Okay. Ryan, what do you got?
I think we just went over a lot of it.
Oh, you did?
Okay. I like the Thielen. Instead of the yards, I like the 4.5 receptions because he's going to get the targets.
Yeah.
Maybe even a better line to bet for Jefferson would be the 6.5 receptions. He's definitely going to get 8 or 9 catches, if not more.
He's getting 13 targets a game.
Right. So I definitely like those together.
Okay. One of my Degenerates Gambit bets, which by the way are 9-3 on the season so far, is Minnesota -4.5. I don't think this game is close. Minnesota, like, there's different types of bad, right? And like Minnesota is competent bad, and the Panthers are like still figuring it out bad.
Yeah, that's I like that. That's fair.
And I think this is a must win for both teams, but must win is still a relative term, and I think this is like Minnesota's got to approach this like a playoff game, right?
Yeah.
So with the fact that their defense tends to blow it in the third and fourth quarter constantly, I don't see them letting up on the gas.
I agree with you.
They're fighting for second place in the division. That's for sure.
That's very important. Well, let's be real. The NFC is pretty weak this year. There's a chance that a 500 team makes a wild card spot.
So Tony,
That's scary.
I want to throw this right now. Are we going to get another beast mode move? Because that 7-9 Seahawks team is why I approve of teams with losing records making the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be Alexander Madison, but he'll fumble at the end of it.
Yeah, least mode. So I'm going to throw this. If you see it on my screen, because we've been talking about this, I like with games where I think someone's just going to manhandle the other team. And I actually kind of think the Vikings, I like them a lot more. This parlay, if you did the Vikings winning every quarter, you like a $1 bet at plus 1852.
Is there a Vikings turnover prop, by the way?
I just saw that as a popular bet on that thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I'm throwing $1 on it because I actually think the Vikings are going to win and win handily. I don't think the Vikings are as bad as their record indicates. I think I actually just think they're just kind of regressing to the mean from last year.
Touchdown pass away from beating the Chargers last week.
They really are.
So, all right. Anything else on this game, or are we good?
I'm good.
The world asked. God opened the sky, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "We need more NFC South discussion." So here we are. Tampa Bay going to New Orleans. New Orleans are 3.5-point home favorites. Tampa Bay is plus 152 for a road upset, and the total is 39.5. Ryan.
Do we know that Jameis Winston's playing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't have a passing line up yet, though.
His lines aren't up yet. So I was gonna say if Winston is playing for sure, I'm loving Shaheed's line at 39.5. Maybe one catch from him.
That's true.
Yeah. And we know that Jameson's gonna try and sling it.
Will Olave get a touchdown?
Ooh.
Do you know that he's
what is he for?
And he
with no touchdowns. Yeah.
Ooh, is he getting the Julio Jones treatment this year?
So far.
Yeah, he is, and that's
I like it. Actually, I'd bet it. It's plus 200. I'd put like $5 on it or something for Chris Olave touchdown.
If he keeps this up for the full season, you know what that means, right? He is going to get the Julio treatment, which means in about 9 years he's going to go play for Tennessee.
Oh shit.
Well, this is a Jameis revenge game. And I didn't have a Chris Olave line before we started, but I have one now. And can I tell you how much I love Chris Olave this week? Because I loved him already. And I didn't need much to nudge me. But the system loves Olave. You know who also loves a lot? Michael Thomas this week.
Really?
Yeah, at 48.5. That line is low. He's getting a lot of targets. The only reason I'm going to say no to the Michael Thomas line is because once Jameis came into the game, he was like focused on Chris Olave. Like if you saw that was his main guy that he was trying to get the ball to. And Jameis wants to sling it, and Olave wants to run downfield and get a lot of yards. So I'm probably going to ladder Olave.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Chris Godwin under. I do not want. I don't want that. I don't want that line. Like 54.5. Mike Evans is the guy that, like, Baker Mayfield just wants to throw it to Mike Evans. I think that's very clear this early in the season. And at 54.5, that line is too high.
If you're gonna parlay any of this stuff together, why don't sprinkle in a little Rashad Wright receptions over 2.5?
Getting 4 targets a game.
Interestingly, New Orleans gives up 5 catches to running backs per game.
That seems like a really low line. I like that.
One of my top 5 bets of the week is in this game. It is Chris Olave's over at 72.5 yards receiving.
I love it.
I decided to do a little digging, and did you know last year when the Saints played the Bucks, Jameis Winston was the starting quarterback?
I did not know that. I mean, I knew he played some games.
In week 3, early on. And last year when they played, Olave was targeted 13 times, had 5 catches for 80 yards.
Okay.
And Tampa Bay is now down at least one starting cornerback. Chris Olave is averaging 100 yards receiving a game. It might take you till the second half. You might be sweating a little bit, but the Chris Olave receiving line is a line I like a lot.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed because I've had a lot of over bets on Olave, and there'll be this time where I'm just like, oh, he's at 13 yards. He's at 13 yards. He's at 80 yards. Like, where did that happen? Like, when it comes big.
Yeah, comes hard.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we move on?
No, I just want to say the title of this episode is Chris Olave Comes Hard.
I hope so. With his physical gifts. All right. Next up, we are going. Commanders are visiting the Eagles. Eagles are 8.5-point home favorites. Commanders upsets plus 340.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off for 1 second because there is one bet I forgot to throw out there that I do like.
Too late.
Okay. Well,
go ahead.
Baker Mayfield 218.5 passing yards. That under is a smash against this defense. Like we saw it last week against the Eagles. Saints defense is better. I think Baker's had some light schedules. Like he got to play the Bears and Vikings and make everyone think he can throw it. And now he's up against the Saints are going to do the same thing the Eagles did to him, and on a short week.
I do actually. Now that you mentioned this, I have one thing that I wanted to bring up. The Degenerates Gambit article, I took the under, even though the line's at 39.5. Yeah. Something that I noticed is that both the Saints and Buccaneers are bottom 5 in red zone touchdown efficiency.
Okay.
The Saints score a touchdown on 40% of their red zone trips. The Buccaneers score a touchdown on 37.5 of their red zone trips. So I took the under, even though it was 39.5.
I think that's a good under.
All right, so Washington at Philly, like I said, Philly 8.5-point home favorites. Commanders money line plus 340. Point totals 43.5. Waleed, take it away.
So there's only a couple of there's a few bets that I like here this week, but there's only one bet I'm going to really take. Brian Robinson, his rushing under at 53.5 is a pretty strong bet because Jalen Carter. That's it. Like you cannot run against the Eagles. The Eagles' interior defensive line is nuts. Like there's a lot of things going wrong with the Eagles. Their run defense is not one of those things. I think that Brian Robinson under is a solid play this week. I also got to say, Terry McLaurin,
guys, aren't you glad that we got more instead of Jalen Carter?
Yeah, we got a 4th round pick. If Darnell Wright turns out to be a strong left tackle, I don't hate it, or right tackle. If he's a multiple Pro Bowl offensive lineman, I'll be fine with it. Maybe because I don't know that. What do you think? You think Jalen Carter was going to play hard for Matt Eberflus? I don't know that it would have worked here anyway.
Would the Bears be better if they could stop the run? I can't tell.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I see guys like just quitting, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So that's what. No.
Okay.
So a couple of bets that I want to look at here because I have a lot of unders. Well, I only have 2 more unders. One of them, Terry McLaurin receiving under 50.5. I mean, against, even though like if you look at it like at a distance, the Eagles' pass defense has been giving up some yards. It's kind of like it's a mirage. If you look closer, their defense is still pretty decent, and Terry McLaurin's not getting the target share he needs to actually be productive. And Dallas Goedert, I gotta say, at 35.5, like that under might be the play. I won't take it because the line is too low, and maybe they will finally realize that they can have Goddard run more than 10 yards down the field. But the one play that I really do like this week, and this is an over, and this is Tony Martin's baby boy, A.J. Brown, at 73.5. That receiving over is a really, really strong play.
Is he your baby boy because he cries a lot if he doesn't get fed? Is that why?
That's fantastic.
That was expert level, Josh.
That's how you do it.
Ryan, what do you got on this game?
I like the spread at Eagles minus 8.5. Definitely think this game's going to get out of control. They're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. Take the Eagles to win. And I don't really like a lot of these lines, so I'm not going to bet. I don't feel safe betting any of them.
Okay.
So I actually, you said that I kind of want to throw out the bet that I did. I did one of those. If you look at the screen, I got like the Eagles.
Did you do the
winning
no push one?
the no push for the Eagles on all
Yeah.
four and the over plus
I
1734.
I figured you're gonna do that on these games where they're favored more than a touchdown.
Yeah, and you look at that line. $1 at plus 1734 makes me like $18. Like I feel like if that bet hits 25% of the time, and I can see the Eagles shithousing Washington way more than 25% of the time. But at the same time, I'm kind of wanting to also reuse it and do the under. But at the same time, I remember Washington last year, like going in to Philadelphia and clowning the Eagles. Divisional games are weird. So, but for a $1 investment, I think it's worth the risk.
What is no? This is a non-better here. Long time listener, first time caller. What is the Jalen Hurts like rushing under for this game? Because I gotta tell you, he's not running like he normally did in seasons past. Everybody.
42 and a half.
Yeah, 42 and a half.
He's at 33. He's averaging 33 a game this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the under is not a bad play.
But
also, does the no push also include if the tush push is involved?
Can I add a leg for at least?
That's what the NFL is gonna.
Pushes.
That's what the NFL is gonna institute is the no push.
Look, we're getting Taylor Swift. We're getting Taylor Swift props. I want tush push props.
Let's save our Taylor Swift stuff till later in the show.
Okay.
Ryan.
Wait, but we're already talking about Kelsey and Swift. Where are you?
Not yet. We aren't. We haven't got to the Kansas City game.
We're talking about the Eagles, Waleed. The original Swift Kelsey.
True. He's got a point.
You do have a point. I can't argue with it.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Sure.
All right.
Did you have anything, Ryan?
He said he wants the Eagles in the points.
Yeah.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, I wasn't too confident in a lot of those lines.
That checks out.
Let's talk about my favorite 0-3 versus 0-3 game of the week. You got Denver coming to Chicago to see the Bean, which is apparently still under construction. Denver are 3.5-point road favorites after getting 70 dropped on them last week. A Bears home win is plus 130 and the line's 46.5. Ryan?
Another game I'm not very interested in.
Man, that one Marvin Mims catch for a touchdown is going to be pretty sweet.
What's that at?
I got to see what the Marvin Mims touchdown is. Plus 440? I'll throw $1 on that.
And that'll be 80% of his target share for the next 2 weeks.
I'm definitely
so his target share improved.
I'm definitely taking the under in this game.
Really?
46.5. Yep.
I strongly disagree with that. The Bears have given up 25 plus points like how many games in a row? Assuming there's any level of garbage time played for one of these
Assuming
teams.
They can score any points themselves.
What does your system say about how good is Denver at defending the screen pass, Waleed?
You know what? Some of these yardage props hadn't posted yet, so I'm still kind of adding some numbers here. But I will say two of the bets that already showed is really big positives is the Justin Fields and Russell Wilson overs. And when I get plus marks on two quarterback overs, I feel like the over is going to be a good play overall. I'm actually going to even throw out an adjusted money line or an adjusted over. Like I'm going to try to get it over 50 points to get some juice in a couple of bets because the lines are there. The other bet that's actually really strong. Okay, let's look at some of these receiving yards here. I gotta see this real quick because I feel like this might be a really good play.
I'll just do mine while you do your math. I'll do mine.
Thank you.
So Miami shredded Denver last week, and I think we saw how willing Denver's going to be to stick to exclusively man coverage. I think that bodes well for Justin Fields. But in terms of my top 5 bets of the week, I think it bodes well for DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a heavy man coverage beater. He's got a heavier target rate against man defenses. Denver being top 10 in how often they run man coverage and also being 32nd in the league in man coverage efficiency tells me a lot.
That doesn't
So
make a lot of sense, Tony.
if you're bad at something, keep doing it. So DJ Moore's averaging 56 yards receiving a game. Denver's giving up 182 receiving yards a game to wide receivers exclusively. DJ Moore's line is at 43 and a half. I'm in. If you're telling me that Fields' passing yardage is 180, give or take, and if you're telling me that 45 of that's not going to DJ Moore, who's it going to? So one of my top 5 bets of the week is DJ Moore over 43 and a half yards receiving. And I try to not bet on Bears games unless it's for them to embarrass themselves. But I think they can manage to do both this week.
I think if you want to talk, because I just did the numbers, Josh. How are the Bears and like receiving lines? How come they don't have a Khalil Herbert receiving prop? They do have a Roshan Johnson receiving prop, and because of what happened to Denver last week, it broke my system.
I'm sure.
Like he is projected to like quadruple his receiving over. Like Roshan at 11.5. Like I gotta tell you, that line is so big that I'm just gonna take it because maybe they fix it. But even if they got like if they're 50% better, 75% better, he still hits that over.
Your system for running backs against Denver will be broken for the next like 3 years.
Only for receiving. Here's the other thing. On the flip side of that, the next 2 great monstrous like mismatches are the receiving overs for Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams at 12.5 and 16.5. Basically, I am taking. I'm going to end up having to put a pretty big receiving over parlay on this game for all 3 of these running backs because I think that's where a lot of them. Because that's what's going to happen. He wants to throw screen passes like Getsy, and so does Sean Payton.
Well, Denver gives up the 4th most pass yards to quarterbacks. The Bears give up the 5th most.
Yep.
Denver gives up the most rushing yards to running backs. They give up the most receiving yards to running backs. The Bears give up the 2nd most receiving yards to running backs.
Yeah. So, like, it checks out that it broke that way. And obviously, these numbers are skewed a little bit for the Denver side, like for the Roshan prop. But honestly, they're probably perfectly in line for the for how Denver uses their running backs and how bad the Chicago Bears defense is.
Yeah. All right, I got nothing else. Ryan?
No.
Oh, you said you're kind of iffy on this game.
Yeah.
I get you. All right, let's move on. Let's do some AFC North stuff. We got Baltimore going to Cleveland. Cleveland are 1.5-point home favorites. A Baltimore win on the road's plus 108, and the line's 39.5. Waleed.
All right.
When can we go with Ryan first because these lines weren't posted before.
Yeah, this game's gonna be a shit show, and it's gonna be horribly under. I'm loving the under, 39.5. It could be a close game.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't feel confident in a lot of these lines. I think Ford's line at 52.5 is a pretty good line right now, so I don't feel comfortable betting that. Gus Edwards line at 38.5. I might take the over, but I got to relook at what's going on in that backfield.
I think Justice Hill is going to be eligible to play this weekend.
Is that what they said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable in Lamar Jackson's 48.5 rush yards. That seems like a pretty solid line by Vegas. I don't feel comfortable betting that. The only thing I would maybe feel comfortable betting is the over Mark Andrews 3.5 receptions. He's gonna get 5 or 6 catches, regardless of how good Cleveland's Browns defense is. It's just he's Mark Andrews.
True.
Yeah, I don't like the passing. They only have 1 pass yard prop up for Jackson. It's under 200 yards.
Yeah, because we don't know if Deshaun's playing.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know if Deshaun Watson's playing.
Dude, I can tell you right now, everything I'm seeing
Who's
right now.
gonna punch
initially,
defensive players in the face?
Miles Garrett.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
you're right. You're right.
There are plenty of assholes. Don't you even worry about it. This is absolutely an under game for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like when I'm looking at like my system, it's like it wants the under on Lamar, Zay Flowers, Aguilar, and honestly, I've watched that Cleveland defense, so I agree.
Yeah, I think this will be won by a Justin Tucker field goal. It'll be 13-10. You know, it's gonna be
Yeah,
crazy defensive game.
the only bet I will take is the actual under on this game. Everything else, I won't take unders on guys like Flowers or Andrews because they can get it in one play and they're
Right.
good enough that I don't bet against good players.
Okay. I actually don't mind if you parlay the under with a Baltimore win gets you plus 249.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I actually like that bet.
I could do that.
Not only
John's
can I
gonna
do
save
that,
for later and look at it after the show.
yeah, I'm just throwing $2 on that right now.
So Cleveland is absolutely destroying motherfuckers on defense right now.
Right. That's why I'm not comfortable.
They allow the least pass yards per game. They allow the fourth least rush yards per game. They allow the least yards per game to wide receivers, and they have allowed a total of 24 receiving yards to opposing tight ends.
So one thing I will say about the rushing over, because Tony and I were talking, I haven't started I'm starting to kind of log how often teams run man, and then I want to like see how that impacts like rushing quarterbacks. And I will say I'm kind of curious. I'm not going to bet the Lamar rushing over at 48.5, but I'm going to be interested to see if he hits it because the Browns run man 35.5% of the time. They do run a lot of man. And that pass rush is going to get there. So if there are any kind of lanes, I could see Lamar getting big chunk plays this game. That's something I'm looking for, but it's something to monitor for maybe future betting. But I'm not actually going to put any money on it.
Okay. Anything else before we move on?
No, I think that's good.
All right. So we got a couple more late window, or just one more late window game here. Cincinnati going to Tennessee. Tennessee are 2.5-point home underdogs. A Tennessee home win would be plus 124 on the money line, and the total is 41 even. Waleed.
Woo-wee. I do like a lot of this game, and I like it all on the Cincinnati Bengals side.
I
My
agree.
number one quarterback of the week, the man, because like the gold chains of Kirk Cousins helps like lift me to my God Emperor status. I'm going to be counting on the calf of Joe Burrow to get me there. I got my millionaire bet is actually Joe Burrow plus 325 yards with 470 odds. My $46 will pay out $216. I'm going big with this because as the God Emperor, I am all over it. I really loved Joe. Like my top 5 bet of the week is just a straight up Joe Burrow over 259.5. That's a solid play. I think he's going to get 300 yards easy, but for my standard bets, I'm not doing anything crazy. Just also has my same game parlay, which is Joe Burrow passing over, T. Higgins receiving over, and Tyler Boyd receiving over. The Titans against slot receivers, they give up some yards, man. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know I looked it up.
Actually, I do this, I calculated because it's only by fantasy points allowed.
Yeah.
Strictly from fantasy points allowed perspective, Tennessee gives up the 4th most fantasy points to receivers lined up in the slot.
Yeah. So I really think Tyler Boyd at 36.5 is sneaky value. T. Higgins line also 57.5. I just think that I know T. Higgins is inconsistent. I think this is a game where he feeds. He's getting the target share. He's just not always getting those catches. And this Titans secondary is just bad. It's so bad against wide receivers, and I want to throw money at that.
I just did an interesting parlay. I took the Jamar Chase over at 84.5. I took Joe Burrow over 1.5 touchdowns. I did Joe Burrow's over at 259.5, and I did Tyler Boyd over 3.5 receptions plus 667. That seems pretty easy to do.
That's a good bet.
Yeah.
All right, I can go.
Yeah.
One of my Degenerates Gambit money lines of the week is Cincinnati -2.5. I think Cincinnati wipes the floor with these guys, and hopefully they commit less second half penalties like the Chargers did that kept Tennessee in the game. I'm gonna be real with you, Ryan. When I heard your bet, I got a little sad because I think it's a T. Higgins week, not a Jamar Chase week.
Oh yeah.
I see arguments for both. Chase runs out of the slot way more than T. Higgins does, and Tennessee is terrible against the slot. But when teams play heavy man coverage against the Cincinnati Bengals, it's the T. Higgins show. T. Higgins, when they're playing a zone defense, gets 16% of the targets, and when they're playing man defense, he gets 35% of the targets.
Ooh.
So,
maybe throw another bet. Just swap out T. Higgins. Hedge.
Yeah.
Like you might still get both.
Let's see. Higgins would be at. Sorry.
No, you're good. Higgins, when we do our DFS
57.5.
When we do our DFS plays of the day at the end of the show, we'll talk more T. Higgins. But until then, just the Cincinnati -2.5 is the only one that I've laid money on so far.
Yeah. Ryan, send me a screenshot of that because I do really like that, and I'm going to want to throw $1 on it later.
Okay.
All right.
There's one other bet I want to talk about.
Do they have a Spears rushing prop, by the way?
Do you know what? It wasn't up in last night's, but yeah, it's now at 19.5. That is actually something I'm really interested in. I want to see what that is because that might be a good bet. Good call on that.
Because I think this is the last year of King Henry. I'm calling it.
I'm gonna say right now that bet. I don't like it on my system. Like from a usage standpoint, you're not getting enough juice. I'm looking. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I put it in the wrong spots. Hold on. It's actually a positive bet. My bad. I put it in the receiving line. That's not fair to him. I will say two bets that I was looking at though. The Joe Mixon rushing over at 52.5 against his Titans defense. The Joe Mixon under is a solid play. And because I don't believe in Joe Mixon, I don't actually have a problem betting against him. Especially against the Titans. They are really good against defending the run. And honestly, I don't think that the Bengals wants to run the ball. At the same time, the Joe Mixon receiving over 20.5 is a really good value because that's actually where Joe Mixon's value has come from at the running back position for the Bengals team. He is he's a receiving back at this point. That's where his value is in PPR.
It is. Anything else, or are we good?
We're good.
Okay. We're going Raiders visiting the Chargers. Chargers are 5-point home favorites. Raiders upset is +190, and the point total is 49.5. Waleed.
I would love to tell you how to bet this game. There is only one bet I care about. Well, maybe two, depending on what the Jacoby Myers line is. But because they are not posting anything yet for who's going to be the quarterback of the Raiders, we can't do it. But Devontae Adams, I don't care who the quarterback is. He is my number one wide receiver over of the week. I don't care if his line's at 100. He is such a smash play. I don't care if Brian Hoyer is throwing him the ball. When they post the Devontae Adams line, I'm taking that over and I'm doing a ladder with it. Like this matchup against the Chargers is so freaking good. Last week, my parlay was 3 receivers against this Chargers defense, and it hits. It wasn't on the show, but I did have that parlay.
We got these mystery parlays that show up that Wally.
Hey, you saw the screenshots.
What happens in Vegas,
Right?
Look, I only get one same game parlay, and I decided to use it on Justin Fields like a moron.
All right, so you're high on Devontae. Anything else?
Jacoby Myers line I want to look at too, because I do think, although with Hoyer I feel a little bit less confident in, but like when Myers played, he's been playing. He's been getting 10 targets a game, something insane like that. Yeah, he's averaging 11 targets a game.
Yeah.
Devontae's averaging 12. Like, Chargers give up the most yards to wide receivers. Just bet on all the wide receivers against them. You'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, Ryan.
I like Josh Palmer's reception over 3.5. I'd probably par that with Herbert's over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Okay.
I like the Chargers to win, especially since we don't know if Garoppolo's right in the head. I think this is, I think this is going to be a Chargers.
I feel like Quentin
Chargers
Johnston's
game all the
line
way.
is like really low.
Yeah, I like his. I might do that with his 2.5 receptions. And Johnson's, I don't know about his yards yet, but in terms of target share, he's going to get, I think, at least 3 receptions. So
I will say, because I was so focused on Devontae Adams, I forgot to point out that Keenan Allen at 86.5, his target share on the season, his yards on the season, and he's playing the Raiders. Like, Keenan Allen over is a very, very good bet.
And we're all really high on Josh Kelly the other day.
Also high.
Yeah, 51.5. I'd like to smash that over. I think Kelly's going to have a great game against this porous Vegas defense.
Yeah, they give up the third most rushing yards to running backs, so they're doing something wrong. And go ahead.
I'll just say, my problem is I am rooting for him. I will play him in DFS. I will not bet money on Josh Kelly rushing overs until he shows some consistent ability to do it.
Okay.
All right. So I have nothing on this game because I don't hate myself. Moving on.
The right answer.
New England going to Dallas. Dallas are 6.5-point home favorites. A Belichick upsets plus 235, and the line's 43.5. Waleed.
So this is a bet that almost made my top 5, and that is the Kendrick Bourne receiving over at 33.5. That line is incredibly low. Hold on, let me pull up that data real quick. He's averaging 8 targets a game right now, and he's getting 50 yards pretty consistently. I understand he's playing the Dallas Cowboys defense, but even still, when they're up by 3 touchdowns, Bourne should get some garbage time yards. That is a really low line. I have a bet on it. I didn't put it in my top 5 bets of the week because I like to take players on teams that I trust a little bit more with matchup. But it is a bet that I am taking. I think it's pretty strong. Tony Pollard's his receiving over at 18.5 is also a pretty good bet. I don't know if that line has changed. No, it's still at 18.5. I'm also I won't bet that under but I don't like Ramondre Stevenson at all this week, and I think if you've watched the Dallas Cowboys, you would agree with that assessment. Sure. There's too much that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Ryan.
You know what, guys? The spread is kind of enticing this week, and I'm thinking of betting New England plus 6.5. In terms of game script, Dallas played complete garbage last week. All right, and I think a little bit of that trend continues, especially against Coach Belichick. Who's going to scheme a bunch of stuff. I think this game's going to be closer than we think. So I like that plus 6.5 for New England. I think this could be a game decided by a field goal.
Okay.
And I think the exact opposites, because I actually think what happened was the Dallas Cowboys thought they could look past the Cardinals, yes. And they were wrong, because the Cardinals are actually a good football team. I think the fact that they got embarrassed is actually going to make them more likely, because they're trying to be one of the best defenses in football, on a historical level. They're going to come in there and they're going to try to destroy them. I'm not going to do the quarter bet because I think the Patriots might take a quarter, but I was trying to see if I had made that bet. I will not bet against the Cowboys in this game. I think this is a game where they will show up for.
Sure. Do you like CD Lamb's line 66.5?
Truth be told, no. I don't think the line is bad, and I don't think he will do badly. But the problem I have with his line is Bill Belichick what does he do? He takes away your best weapon. And I think
Right.
that best weapon is CD Lamb. I don't think he's going to let CD Lamb beat him.
I also, CD Lamb actually in 2 of his 3 games this year has ended with under a 20% target share.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
And
should
if they
never
get
happen.
well, if they get a lead too, I could see. Well, no, the target share that's not going to impact that line. But I think if they're running, they're going to run the ball a lot if they can get up to a lead early, and that defense can just beat the hell out of Mac Jones. And
Oh
I
my
believe it.
God. How funny would it be this year if Belichick uses Zeke Elliott as like a revenge weapon and just starts him and uses him?
Funny you should ask, because I'd like to talk about my bet of the week that comes from this game.
Oh, did you take a Zeke prop?
No, I took the Ramondre Stevenson under at 56.5 yards rushing.
Ooh.
I was thinking about it, honestly.
Ramondre this year is averaging 44 rushing yards a game. He's only gone over this number once. Ramondre's snap share, week 1, 74%. Week 2, 72%. Week 3, 65%. So we're starting to see Zeke get more touches out of this backfield. Dallas gives up 67 rush yards a game. And I think if you split that between maybe if 60% of the rushes go to Ramondre and 40% go to Zeke against a tough run defense, I think that the under is looks pretty good, even if it's 56.5. So that is one of my top 5 bets of the week.
Dude, in revenge game fashion, I'm gonna throw 10 cents on plus 1,800 for Ezekiel Elliott, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Crazier things have happened.
Right.
Well, I just did 2 $1 bets on 1 defensive touchdown and 2 defensive touchdowns for the Cowboys because I could see Mac Jones throwing 2 interceptions
You
for
guys
touchdowns.
are monsters. All right, let's move on. Arizona going to San Francisco. San Francisco are 14-point home favorites. An Arizona upset would be plus 610, and the line is 43.5. Waleed.
One of my top 5 bets of the week is here, and that is the Joshua Dobbs passing under at 183.5. Sorry, I like what the Cardinals are doing, but I'm sure they feel real good about what they did against the Cowboys. They're going to get like a reality check against this San Francisco team, which is a monster. There's nothing I like about this for the Cardinals, unfortunately.
This should be another one of those games, Waleed, where you do those push-out bets or.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Here, let me pull up what I got here. I did it for this one for sure. And actually, the odds for this one were not very good. It's literally like
I'm
I
sure
think I make
it's like
it's
plus
$1 gets
or
me
three-
$5.
Oh, plus 500, yeah.
Which, to be fair, like it's still I think I'm gonna come out ahead on it. So I'm not too worried. Let's see what that line actually is here. I'm just trying to scroll down to it.
Guys, this game has my adjusted GambleTown millionaire bet of the week. I literally changed it 10 minutes ago before we talked about this game. Just to boost it up there a little bit. Should I say it yet, or are you gonna save it?
Bring it on.
No, come for it.
My millionaire bet now, it was going to be that Buffalo to cover. Yeah. But I was like, these guys are going so bold. I got to do at least something a little bold to get mine up in case they both lose. So I put money down. What was it? Plus 200. Christian McCaffrey, 2 touchdowns. I was gonna do 3 at 800, but I was like, no, let's do something safer in case both these guys lose.
I mean, honestly, the fact that Christian McCaffrey like touchdown bets like for 1 touchdown are like minus odds now is saying something. What is his streak right now? 13?
Something like maybe 12.
13 games in a row with 1 touchdown. It's some crazy number like that. So all you're saying is, will he get a second one? And there's a pretty good chance he will. Like I think it's a safe bet. I think that's a smart, safe bet because we are going big, and I think it's because like, hey, we're over here trying to like torch cities. You're building your forces in the jungle, getting ready to swarm Gambly Land, and I respect it. Like slow and steady wins the race.
Grain.
All right. Wally, you got anything?
Just that Joshua Dobbs under. Everything else, I really, I don't know that I care for this game enough to say anything. I think the under's an interesting play, but I don't like it enough to actually bet it.
One of my top 5 bets of the week is in this game, and it is the James Conner under at 52.5 yards rushing. He's been doing great this year. Not gonna lie, James Conner's been awesome. He's been a linchpin of a lot of my DFS, a lot of my seasonal long, a lot of my best ball. Averaging 88 yards a game on 17 rushes, but I think that's also a byproduct of a team that's been in a lot of games when they really had no business being in them. I don't think that happens this week. San Francisco has allowed 37 yards a game on average to opposing running backs.
Ooh,
really?
Yeah. They allow the least amount of rushing yards per game to running backs by a long shot. James Conner, as much as we love him, he's not a plus athlete that's going to break away a 40-yard run. So I have no faith in Conner crushing it this week. So his under is one of my top 5 bets of the week. So let's move on to Sunday night. Been waiting all day. I'm really excited. There's a pro wrestling pay-per-view on tomorrow night that I'm going to watch instead of this game.
that's good. That's the right call.
I think Taylor Swift will probably also be watching on her phone as she pretends to watch the game from the skybox.
But Tony, one of those events that you're gonna watch is gonna be scripted, and then there's wrestling, and then there's wrestling.
Right, exactly. So the Chiefs are going to the Jets. The Chiefs are 8.5-point road favorites. A Jets upset is plus 320, and the end of Travis Kelce's relationship. And the total is 41.5. Ryan, what do you got? We've been waiting all day for Sunday night. What do you got?
I love the spread, and I want to do one of those push-up bets on this game for that. I don't think this game's going to be close at all.
Okay.
I am even, dude. Yeah, this may be the end of Taylor Swift's relationship with Kelce. So let's be bold and put Kelce down for 3 touchdowns. Plus 2,200.
I hate
Oh, my man.
This just in, they broke up
this,
before the game.
This game's gonna,
that over is not looking good.
Yeah, this game's gonna be a blowout, so I don't want to bet a lot of the lines, but yeah, maybe take $1 and throw it down on those 3 touchdowns. That'd be a fun bet to win.
I'm not convinced this game is going to be a blowout just because I think the Jets defense is so good. There's only one bet I have any interest in this week. That is Zach Wilson throwing an interception. Minus 148, yes. I think that's not a bad bet. I'm not going to make it because I'm not getting good enough odds. But like, if I could find a 2 interception bet, like, I would do it. But they only give me a yes or no option for interceptions. And I can't.
Right.
The Chiefs defense, I've been saying it for weeks, is incredibly underrated. Like, it's one of the best defenses in football right now. And I think that's not good for Zach Wilson. I think he's going to get destroyed. The Breece Hall rushing under looks interesting to me, but I can't make myself bet it because he can get it on one play. And I don't like betting against good players, as I said.
A Kansas City Chiefs touchdown is plus 600.
For defensive?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
You know what? I will do a $1 and $2, 2 $1 bets for 1 defensive touchdown and 2 defensive touchdowns, because that is something.
2 defensive touchdowns?
Why the hell not? You get like, if they hit, you get like
$60. Do they offer that?
Oh, absolutely they do. Let's see what the odds are going to be.
Deku's here. Hey Deku, you didn't miss too much juicy stuff. We're gonna hit DFS here in like 2 minutes.
Plus 8,500 for 2 defensive touchdowns against Zach Wilson. Yeah, why not?
You guys, a fool and his money are easily separated.
This is a tenth of a unit for me.
That's oil and water, Tony.
Oh, sure. So
silly Tony.
If you don't mind, I have my millionaire challenge is in this game, and my thunder has been completely stolen by Ryan. Thank you for that.
You monster.
My millionaire bet I hit on Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown last week. So I'm up to $20.50, and I just decided to stick with the team. And Taylor Swift is going to be at the game, and I think like this storybook romance, this beautiful, beautiful, not carefully crafted PR thing that's going on right now.
Oh, it's
Um,
real. It's real.
oh yeah, for sure. Love is definitely possible in a modern capitalist dystopia. Um,
Especially when you're wealthy. Especially when you
I
have
just
money.
can't wait for
That's
that
when
new single
that's when it
"Fumbled
matters
at the
the
Goal
most.
Line" to come out. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, I mean, look, I welcome as many Swifties here as possible. Even though, what did I say in the news article? I said it killed to be a Bears fan because we'll always be tied to that video of Taylor cheering with delight after Travis Kelce's touchdown.
As a Swift fan, that hurt. I was like, no,
And
no.
well, honestly, I haven't seen Taylor Swift that excited since we found out the government wasn't going to prosecute anyone in her immediate family for their involvement in the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh, I
So
love it.
never mind the Merrill Lynch. Here's my bet of the week: Travis Kelsey 2 touchdowns. It's at plus 440. So if that hits, my millionaire bet will go up to $110.70. Other than that, I have no real action on this game. I think it's a boring game. I think it fucking sucks, and um, I'm glad that I'm going to be watching wrestling instead of this game. So let's move on to Monday night, a game that I have a lot of interest in, actually.
And
Seattle
we
going to New
actually
York.
got lines. I didn't have them before, so I'm
Seattle
furiously
going to
filling
New
out.
York. Seattle are 1.5 point road favorites. The Giants win is plus 106, and the line's 47.5. Are you guys both looking at these at the same time right now? Just now?
I've
Yeah,
already
I
updated
just
my info, and I
I
know
just
exactly what I'm
I
looking at
just
here.
pulled them up.
Go ahead, Wally.
So there's only one bet here that really stands out to me, and that is Darren
Wow.
Waller receiving over 45.5 against
Wow.
Seahawks defense. I actually think that's a really strong play. I will wait to see how I do for the weekend before I'll make this bet. Because if I'm having a bad weekend, I don't know that I want to invest in Darren Waller or this Giants offense. But I really think that this is going to be a nice high scoring game, so I don't mind it as much.
Okay.
Let,
Um,
let's
I
hope
will
that
say also the Tyler Lockett receiving over at 52.5 it feels like some sneaky value.
Okay.
I'm actually thinking the opposite way. This is a primetime game. I'm gonna take the under on this game. 47.5 seems a little high for this game.
Okay.
Oh, I think there can be scoring, but I don't feel strongly enough to bet the over or under. I don't know if I don't think I made that clear, but I do think
The
some points will be scored against the Seahawks defense.
the little two-legger that I really like is Kenneth Walker's rushing over, and
Yeah, 64, right? 64 and a
64 and
half.
a half, yeah.
I like the Kenneth Walker rushing over. Paired it with the Seahawks minus 1.5.
That's not bad.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
Giants give
Seahawks
up the
Seahawks
fourth
minus
most.
1.5. I actually feel really good about
The
because
the Giants give up the fourth most rushing yards per game to running backs, even with Zach Charbonnet slowly creeping up in terms of snap share percentage. Even if Kenneth Walker gets 60% of the rushes, I think we were talking about this last night. Him breaking a big one, he does it all the time.
yeah, and this is a defense that he can break that against.
Absolutely. And that's all I got. I don't know about you guys.
No,
Yeah.
I told you Darren
Off-
Waller's interesting. Everything else, Matt. Although I do like that Kenneth Walker. Like he was something I was eyeing, but I would like him more for like a Monday Night FanDuel lineup.
All right, so let's run through our top 5 bets of the week first. Ryan, give us your 5.
All right. So my top 5 bets of the week. We're going with the Buffalo money line. We're going with the Buffalo -3 spread. I'm going Christian Kirk over 4.5 receptions in foggy London town tomorrow morning. Going George Pickens over 58.5 reception yards. And I'm taking the under on the London game tomorrow at 43.5.
All right.
That's because of the
I'll go.
conversion rate, right?
Yeah. It's actually
I'll
40,
go.
49.5.
Yeah.
It's like shoes.
I'll do mine. My top 5 bets of the week are Chris Olave over 72.5 receiving yards, Puka Nakua over 71.5 receiving yards, DJ Moore over 43.5 receiving yards. James Conner under 52.5 yards rushing. Ramondre Stevenson under 56.5 yards rushing. God Emperor Waleed, go ahead.
All right. So my top 5 bets of the week at number 1 is TJ Hawkinson over 50.5 receiving yards. Robert Woods over 35.5 receiving yards. Joshua Dobbs under 183.5 passing yards. Justin Fields, I did not mention this earlier, but he's my one of my top 5 bets of the week at over 185.5 passing yards. And Joe Burrow over 259.5 passing yards. Then we got our parlays, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So I know I did the same game as Tony, but it's a completely different parlay. So I did the Buffalo money line. I did Kincaid's over 2.5 receptions and his yards over at 26.5. And I took the Hill and Diggs over on receptions. Both are at 6.5. That's plus 956. 5 units will pay out 53.81.
Very nice. My same game parlay, same game. James Cook over 57.5 rushing. Stephon Diggs over 80.5 receiving. Tua Tagovailoa over 250 yards passing. And the over, I used a profit boost to make it even a little nicer. So I got it at plus 828. So $5 on that would give me back 46.
Oh man, imagine the 4-leg parlay that's about to hit.
I'm saying.
My same game parlay, nice and simple. I only went 3 legs. I wanted to keep it simple. They're all tied together. Joe Burrow over 259.5 passing yards. T. Higgins over 57.5 receiving yards, and Tyler Boyd over 36.5 receiving yards. I did use a profit boost on this one too to juice it up to 480. So $5 makes me 24.01.
Yeah, I'm liking all these profit boosts that FanDuel's been giving us lately.
They've made me feel really good about myself. Hopefully the hot streak keeps going.
Right. For my parlay for just money lines, I did Buffalo, Jacksonville, Philly, Minnesota, and Cincinnati. That put me at plus 728. 5 units pay out a little over $40.
Okay. My money line parlay is just straightforward. Philly, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Dallas. I got that at plus 326. So if those 5 come, or if that $5 bet comes through, I return myself $21.34.
Nice.
I should have waited to place my bet because I want to change that third leg of this one from Robert Woods to either Olave or Nakao. I might just do a 2-legger later with those two. But I got I got TJ Hawkinson over 50.5 receiving yards, Justin Fields over 185.5 passing yards, and Robert Woods over 35.5 receiving yards. I'm getting plus 561, which makes me think I got some negative odds on one of those other ones. Because with the profit boost, like these odds, I don't know, it seems weird to me, but $5 pays out $28.07 at plus 561, and I feel pretty damn good about that one.
Oh, guys, I'm playing Survivor for the first time in football, and I just want everybody to cross their fingers with me that the Broncos are going to win this week.
You went with the Broncos this week?
I did. Yeah.
Not only did you bet against David Montgomery, you're betting against the Bears. I don't mind the betting against the Bears as much as David Montgomery, if I'm being honest. But
well, I figure either way, Wally, I'll be pretty excited. Either the Bears will have their first win on the season, or I'll be Survivor Nostradamus. Yeah,
the emotional hedge. I love it. I love it. I'm a big fan of emotional hedges.
Yeah.
All right, we got our millionaire bet challenge too, right? Last bets that we got to make for the week to see who will rule. Can you guys take over Gambling Land? Let's see.
Okay, so these guys went bold this week, so I decided to still get plus odds, but get at least a little bit ahead of the game in case these guys both lose. So I went with a safer bet because McCaffrey's minus like 250 for 1 touchdown. I went McCaffrey for 2 at plus 200 to get me $30. I'm starting back fresh.
Okay. I won last week, so like I said earlier, I'm rolling my $20.50 in to a plus 440. Travis Kelce 2 touchdowns for Taylor Swift's Undying Love, and if that hits, I'll be at 110.70.
And I also won last week to take over GambleTown, and I'm taking my $46 with plus 470 odds on Joe Burrow at plus 325 passing yards, which will pay out $216.20. If I win, the most happy internment camps ever will be created in gambling.
Re-education camps.
Yes.
Deku's also a big believer in the fields over this week. Yeah, we're huge on DJ right now too. He's one of my 5 bets of the week for sure. Do we want to talk DFS real quick?
Oh, we absolutely want to talk DFS.
All right, let's go through. We have our DFS plays of the day segment. I'm going to start these because go to hell. My quarterback play this week is Russell Wilson.
Well, I don't think it'll surprise anyone to find out that my quarterback play of the week is Joe Burrow.
Ooh, yeah,
I already have it written down.
He's interesting in the slate because he's gotten kicked down to 7,200.
Oh,
yeah, his price is so cheap.
Yeah. Let's see.
Who knew a calf was that expensive of a body part? You know,
it's not just that; it's also like he's had some problems this week.
I'm gonna go ham and say I like Josh Allen this week. This is gonna be a Buffalo week.
Yeah, treat yourself, Ryan.
Right?
My running back player this week is Najee Harris, Pittsburgh Steelers against Houston.
Interesting.
Real big boom or bust play there.
This is the best matchup he's had all year. I'm willing to bet on the talent and hope that this is the week that he returns to normal. This was a great rushing offense last year, so let's hope they can return to form. Waleed, who's your running back?
So my running back, I have 2 running backs here. So the one like the straight play for me is going to be James Cook. His matchup is just so good. But my cheap play, huh?
That was my number 2.
Yeah. My cheap play, since you didn't take him, I was like, well, I'm getting on that. But my cheap play, I think Roschon Johnson at 5,300 is an incredible value, and I want that.
Okay. Ryan,
I like Josh Kelly's value at 6,000.
Is that your guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My man, Joshua Kelly. So my receiver play of the week is T. Higgins.
Love it. Love it.
I think T. Higgins is going to be incredibly low owned, and I think that this is a week where T. Higgins does T. Higgins things and catches 8 for 74 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm with you. My guy, as you probably realized when I was bitching that his line was posted, Devontae Adams, let's go. Yep. Number 1 receiver of the week for me. Like, I am paying up, and he's in every lineup I have. I don't care, and I'm working other guys around it.
Okay.
I'm still pretty high. I want to take Diggs.
Okay.
To go with Allen.
Von Diggs. All right. I feel like Waleed and I are gonna, maybe even Ryan too, might go the same here on tight end. Ryan always goes a little spicy on tight end, so maybe I'm wrong. It's T.J. Hockenson for me.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to. I knew you were picking T.J. Hockenson, so I'm trying to see if I can find a second guy that I like here. Because T.J. Hockenson, he's pretty much in all of my lineups too. I'm not trying to go cheap on tight end, but actually I do have a cheap tight end that I like here, especially if Logan Thomas does not clear concussion protocol. Cole Turner at 4,500 is a great cheap play at tight end.
I just want to point out, Waleed, with Jameis Winston throwing the ball, Taysom Hill, you're going to get some passing yards in there.
Well, you're getting more running back yards. Taysom Hill's always a nice, like, you throw him in there, and if he hits, you got, like, quarterback production from your tight end spot, and you're feeling good. But that only happens, like, 2 times a year.
One of the funniest things, I just finished editing our 2.5-hour TH Fantasy podcast for our 100th episode spectacular, and one of the things that came up that I think is one of the funniest things I ever heard is giving myself the mental image of Sean Payton doing cocaine in front of Taysom Hill.
Oh my god, that was so good.
gonna turn into an anti-drug PSA immediately.
What was it you said? Like, he's called his coach dad at least once.
Oh, for sure, accidentally.
100% he has.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely ended a phone call with a coach saying "I love you." Like,
okay,
For
and
sure.
I know we've done all of our plays. One thing I want to throw out here: Marvin Mims at 5,400. If you're looking for a cheap flyer against that Bears defense, it's missing. Well, technically, because Eddie Jackson's out, four starters in their secondary. I mean, like, and Marvin Jones, like, is just the most explosive receiver on that Denver Broncos offense. Like, he could pay off in like one play.
Who was your tight end, Waleed? I'm sorry.
Cole Turner.
Cole Turner.
Yeah.
Getting real gross with it. All right, Ryan, who's your tight end?
I mean, with this slate, with the main slate, I gotta go Hawkinson.
My man.
If you want to pay down, to get some value, more salary value at other positions. I mean, I was high on Kincaid. I think he's gonna get a touchdown this week.
3 bills. That's why you didn't do it, because you didn't want to have 3 bills in your lineup.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But maybe Ferguson too. He's getting a lot of attention.
Ferguson's red zone target share is really, really good.
So, and especially if we think Dallas is going to crush this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind saving some money at tight end and just going Kincaid and then using that money to get a Devontae in my lineup if it was getting, tight on the budget.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of what I can do, because I have like the lineup where I have like Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, and like Thielen. Like, I paid up at certain spots, but like I look at it and I'm like, how can I get Olave instead of Thielen?
Right.
Like, because that could be really sexy, or like Puka Nakau. Like, there are ways to really just juice it up.
All right, let's see. All right, so Deku's got their lineup in. He's got Fields, Pierce, Najee, Keenan Allen, DJ, CD, Dawson Knox, LOL, DeAndre Swift, Bengals. Let's dissect this. I think we're all low on Pierce.
We're not, actually. If you remember, like, I said I won't bet it, but from a matchup standpoint, Pierce is actually a sneaky value play. He might actually get like a lot of yards this week, so I don't mind it, especially because I'm pretty sure Pierce is really cheap right now. What does this cost? I mean, you're saving money and you're going against the grain.
63.
Yeah, 63. The problem is, like, with that is, I don't hate it because he's going to be low owned, and it isn't in his range of outcomes to have a big game. But honestly, I would rather spend that 63 on Najee, who also will be low owned and has, I think, a stronger matchup.
I think if I'm looking at that build, Deku, my only critique would be, like, let me just pull up the salary so I have it in front of my face. You're paying that's kind of cheap. 7,500 for Lamb.
Yeah.
But I think there's value at Higgins at 73.
Right.
I think
especially because as Waleed said earlier, Belichick schemes against the best player on that team, and no matter what, he's gonna make them not have a good game. So I would maybe
and also Lamb. Yeah, I think honestly, like CeeDee Lamb, that same price, Puka Nakau, he's got a monster matchup.
Yeah, we love Puka this week. Love Puka this week.
But yeah, like Puka and Higgins are both guys in that range that I just feel way stronger about. Also, Bengals defense I like. They were one of my waiver wire. They're one of my defensive streamers of the week. Tampa Bay Bucks, if you're going to pay up, is such a good choice because the Bucks are playing Jameis Winston, and there's always in the range of outcomes that he has like 5 turnovers and 10 sacks. Like, and I like that with my defense.
Can we get, before we go, your football absurdity lineup for the week?
I do. I got to go to the Friends League and pull up what I had. You guys can see.
While you pull it up, I can read mine.
All right.
I did not cash last week. This was my first time so far this year not cashing, so I got revenge on my mind. I am starting Russell Wilson as my quarterback. My running backs are James Cook and Najee Harris. My wide receivers are Puka Nakua, Cortland Sutton, and Tank Dell. My tight end is TJ Hawkinson. My flex is Jacoby Myers, and my defense are the New Orleans Saints.
All right. I think I put the wrong one in the lineup, so I'm actually adjusting it real quick. Give me a second. Tony, Ryan, do you know which lineup you're using?
I have a few set up already. Let's see. Or should I just build one right now? Um, let's see. No, I'll go with this one I made earlier. Where is it?
Yeah, I'm flipping it around a little bit here. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not doing.
All right.
that
So
money
I went Josh Allen, I went Diggs. I went 49ers defense. I went Adam Thielen in the flex. Dalton Kincaid at tight end. I did have Kyron Williams in against Indianapolis. I did actually have Pearson because of value.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
had Rashid Shaheed.
Okay.
Oh,
Ooh,
sorry,
hang on.
and Tank Dell.
Let's. I'm all about this Tank Dell love.
Yeah.
Can I also point out Deku's second lineup's got me pretty excited here. Russ Wilson, Najee Harris, Roshan Johnson, T. Higgins, Devontae Adams. It looks like, is it Tyreek Hill? I'm assuming.
That's Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
Jay Hawkinson, Marvin
Oh.
Mims, and the Saints defense.
Ooh.
I'm making a 5-cent lineup on that one, Deku, because
real
that's
nice,
a fucking
Deku. I
fire
love that.
lineup.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
all right. So my lineup, because now that I got some numbers on all the guys I wanted to get here, Joe Burrow, 7,200. Obviously, I'm pairing him with Jamar Chase because I am going big. I do think T. Higgins is probably the better play here, but I went for running back Roshan Johnson and Javonte Williams. I just went on running backs in that Bears-Denver game because that's where you want running backs. Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, T.J. Hawkinson, Marvin Mims, Bucks defense. That is a potentially fire lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one.
All right. So what else we got? I think we're good. I gotta go get all the ingredients for full English breakfast. So catch me at the Jewel Osco and Algonquin and ask me questions about starts and sits, and I will look at you anxiously because I don't do that shit. Yeah. I want to plug some stuff real quick. We do Thursday Night Farce Ball here on Twitch, possibly YouTube, but be on the lookout for that at about 7 p.m. on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, right as the game starts. TH Fantasy Podcast episode 100 just dropped. It is 6 dudes talking for 2 hours about cocaine, Steven Seagal, a 5-part story that it ends with a 300-pound man running back an interception.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so we have a ton of stuff. TH Fantasy, listen to it. Degenerates Gambit 9 and 3. It's just posted. It's live on the Football Absurdity website. That's all I got to plug. What do you guys?
And we also have, as Deku already said, 10:30 Central Standard Time. We'll have the sit start show on Sunday. I don't know if it'll be a little bit earlier this week because of the British game. We also have the waiver wire show Tuesday mornings with our super producer Josh Chuboff and myself. And yeah, you already got the Thursday Night Farce Ball. Thank you guys very much for, as God Emperor of Gambling Land, I just want to thank you guys for coming and sitting in and being a part of this show. Hopefully the hot streak continues and we all keep making money, guys.
Yeah, right.
We need that monocle money.
Stay cashing.
Stay cashing.